everyone. Welcome to the third and last edition of the Creative Language Conference. My name is Maria Scheibengraf. I'm the operations manager at Crisol Translation Services, the business organizing the event. And I'm really excited and equally nervous to be here today with all of you, whether you're joining from the UK or tuning in from anywhere around the globe. We've got people from different parts of Europe, Latin America, and the UK today. So yeah, we've got 8 amazing sessions over the next few hours. Some of the most inspiring voices in the industry. Arwyn here is going to be our keynote speaker today. We've designed the event as we do every year. We've done it as a space for sharing, for learning, for exchanging ideas, and for pushing boundaries of what's possible, how to, embrace the new stuff in the industry, whether you're a translator, an interpreter, a marketer, a content creator, or a language enthusiast. There's a bit of everything today for you all. So we hope you will find this inspiration, lots of practical insights, discussions. There's even a workshop on how to build your own AI model later. But mostly, a renewed sense of connection and community, which I think is really important for all of us in these creative industries. So that's my little intro. To officially kick off the day, let me introduce Arwyn, our keynote speaker. He's the CEO of TL Media Online, highly respected figure in the world of corporate photography and videography. He's got a passion for storytelling through visuals mainly. We had him in the first edition of CLConf, and it was a roaring success. Everyone asked for him back, so here he is. He's helped countless brands craft compelling narratives that resonate with their audiences through video and photography. And today he's going to be talking about AI in photography and video, and whether that's erasing human creativity or not. So without further ado, Arwyn, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Maria, and welcome to everybody wherever you are watching or listening throughout this wonderful world of ours. So and thank you, Maria, for inviting me back from pre-COVID days. Who remembers that? Basically, when we were talking about this, Maria and I, AI is the buzzword, isn't it? AI is going to make us all redundant. It's going to take our jobs. It's going to take away our livelihoods and so on. So that's what I thought we would look at when I was talking with Maria. Is AI killing creativity within the creative industries? But for myself, within photography and video is my brief. And so basically, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Is AI killing creativity? And this is me. I am known as a Time Lord because I capture moments in time. For those of you who aren't familiar, and I don't know how you wouldn't be, a Time Lord is based upon the adventures of a doctor called Doctor Who. That's where I borrowed it from. So is AI going to make us all redundant? Are we going to be out of job and out of work and so on? Well, let's start looking at some things about the human brain for a start. And if you read at the bottom, you may be amused, you may not be. Please read it all, because I've done something about men and women. So read that while I'm talking. But 2% of the human body weight is the brain. That's all it is. It's 2% of our average body weight. The brain is 73% is water, which is quite an extraordinary fact, I find, as well. It only consumes about 20% of energy, despite only being 2% of our body weight. And we've got 100 billion brain cells. Some of us a few more billion than others. I include myself in that, but 100 billion brain cells. It is an amazing machine. It's an amazing computer. Information travels at 268 miles per hour. That is faster than the top speed of an F1 car, which is around 240 miles an hour. So information is traveling around faster than an F1 car being driven by your favorite driver in F1. It only uses, however, 20 watts of electricity. That's about enough to light a lamp. So this is an amazing machine. It's an amazing benefit to us all. It's an amazing part of our makeup. We have around 48.6 thoughts every single minute. That's around 72,000 thoughts in one single day. And my question is, can AI actually match up to this? So I'm going to answer the question very early on. At present, and I emphasize the word at present, nowhere near. And this gives us hope at present. Human beings are an essential part of the world. They're an essential part of the creative process. But mankind has been dreaming of automatons and AI type things for thousands of years, for centuries. So, for example, this is Talos or Talos. I have no idea how to pronounce the name. I'm not a Greek scholar, so I apologize for that. But this is a dreamed up automaton. It's an automaton from the myths of ancient Greece, built of bronze, a single vein running through them. And it was built by the blacksmith god. I don't know how to pronounce that again. Hephaestus or Hephaestus. I don't know. Please forgive me, Greek scholars. He was a coastal god of Crete, and he flung rocks on potential invaders to Crete and into Greece. And it's very much mythical, but it shows that mankind has been dreaming of automatons and AI for thousands of years. And these dreams are now becoming a reality. But this image here, which I created with AI, and this very short 5-second clip is all AI driven. I'm going to be talking more about how I've done this and so on in a minute and what it means to us. And then the next video, this is a photograph taken of me as a Time Lord years ago. I was having a difficult day this past week with Microsoft sorting out very simple billing situation, and then with an airline company. And I just wanted to say, as part of my post on Facebook and social media channels and so on, look, I'm getting fed up today. This is it. And all I've done is taken a photo, taken another photo for the background as though I'm in space on a spaceship, and just animated it. It takes about 4 to 6 minutes to generate that one video, and the same with the other one of the mythical creature from Greece. So basically the question is then, has any of this destroyed human creativity? I don't believe it has. And I'm going to say why. And as a tip, here are the things that I've used for this. Here's a website, app.leonardo.aa. I don't know how Leonardo da Vinci would feel about an AI app being named after him. And also polo.ai. Leonardo app I use to create the images that you see in front of you. And also Polo is the way that I've animated them. But oh yes, other things I use the Adobe suite, the full Adobe suite. I use a suite called Topaz, T-O-P-A-Z, a lot. I use Luminar AI for photography is incredible. I'd recommend you look that up. For video, I use something called DaVinci Resolve. Again, Leonardo, I wonder how he'd feel about this. And DaVinci Resolve, I use the paid for version. You can get a free version, which is pretty powerful, but it's more limited. It's about 2 editions behind the paid for version, but DaVinci Resolve. And they've just brought out version 20. It is mind-blowing what it can do. Absolutely mind-blowing. It's used in Hollywood, in movies, and in TV. And another one, check out, is Veed, V-E-E-D, Feed is brilliant for if you want to put animated subtitles on your videos, social media. It is the best tool out there that I've found for doing that. It's very, very quick, very easy to use. So there's some things I use. However, all of this, it still needs human imagination. It still needs the brain. It still needs thoughts. It still needs the skill in taking a photo. It still needs knowledge. I've got a minuscule amount of knowledge about this Greek mythical figure. It takes imagination to think up the brand of being the Time Lord and dressed in the stupid stuff that I wear. It takes knowledge of how to use the right AI prompts. So those two apps in front of you there, Leonardo and Polo, you have to learn how to craft your sentences to create a good result. And I'm still learning that. And it needs different prompts for different AI. AI can do some of what we see on our screens and on social media, but it cannot, at the moment, do all of it. Now, next thing, and Maria will tell me if I'm running out of time. Who remembers the Alien franchise? I went to the recent release of the Alien film. There's about 7 actors in the entire film. That's it. The storyline was fantastic. I've never been into the Alien franchise. I saw the first one when it came out many, many years ago because I'm that old, even as a Time Lord. The latest one is about CGI and AI and digital creations merging together with filmed footage, but you cannot see the joins. And I sat in the cinema at the end of the film with my bestie, watching the credits, who's also a creative, and there were around 1,500 to 2,000 names in just about 4 companies who were CGI and AI experts, plus all the rest of the film crew, and so on and so forth. It's thousands of people worked on this film. So we start off in the process of making a feature film. We've got the writer, Fede Alvarez. He came up with the concept to do a prequel. It was based on other things, first of all, but they refined it. But he wrote this amazing storyline. And this is the thing about this movie for me, was the effects and so on, and digital effects and AI were not the things that captivated me. It was the storyline. The storyline captivated me. Then you've got the casting, you've got the auditions and the whole process and writing to people and agents and so on. You've then got the cast and the full film crew. It was filmed on location in Budapest, in Hungary, a lot of it. And then they built sets as well. And then they had digital stuff as well. And they merged the two together. And the monsters created digitally had to match the models of the monsters that were created on the set. And the sets had to match the digital. Digital had to match the sets. It was a huge undertaking. Then you got post-production in the editing suite, cutting out the stuff that they don't want and all the rest of it, and the full edit. And then you've got the music. The music was composed. It was released as an album, both in digital format and in vinyl. Vinyl has made a small comeback in recent years. And then you've got all the marketing. The trailer, when it came out, it made it got garnered huge numbers of views within 24 hours, thousands and thousands of views within. And yes, it amassed, I've got the notes here, amassed 50 million views in 24 hours, the trailer for this film. It was released in theatres in August 2024 and online in October 2024. AI cannot yet replace all of this human creativity and ingenuity. It just cannot do it. And I'll say why in a minute. This image you see isn't from the franchise. I just went into Leonardo and said, give me the alien from Alien, and it's done a pretty good job. It won't create anything exact because of copyright, but it's done a pretty good job. And this is from the other one, Polo, when I've animated the image. But this movie cost $80 million to make. In 1 week, it grossed $50 million in the US when released. It was worldwide by September 2024. It's the second biggest film in the Alien franchise regarding takings. 314 million by September 2024. At the end of the initial worldwide run, it had grossed close on 350 million US dollars. Human beings did this, not CGI on its own, not AI coming up with the originality and the thought. Human beings need to adapt for sure, but AI did not do it on its own. Human beings and the human brain is what basically did this. It's absolutely amazing what we can do regarding human beings, and it's not just AI. Okay, so I just want to take some time now to look at some innovations in the past. So, first of all, let's look at the printing press. The printing press was so controversial, and the text at the bottom, somebody wrote, "The pen is a virgin, but the printing press is a whore." That was a monk in the 15th century, I think it was. His name is Filippo da Strata. People were worried that when people learnt to read, when people had information, they would not adhere, they would not be subjugated, they would find out things, they'd find out stuff and so on. And this happened all over the world. It wasn't just in the West. So the Sultan Bayezid II, the most famous opponent of the printing press, he outlawed it in the Ottoman Empire in 1485. For printing anything in Arabic, basically, any Islamic texts and so on, he outlawed it. He could print anything in Latin, in French, English, whatever they wanted. But he actually outlawed the printing press in the Ottoman Empire in 1485. People were frightened of it. People are frightened of AI today. And the main reason why the church in the West opposed it was not necessarily about the public, because they were pretty illiterate, the general public at large, not the public gaining information, but they were worried about a lack of editorial control for two reasons, probably. One reason was inaccuracy. The other reason was that people, yes, would gain knowledge, and they'd gain knowledge that what perhaps the church had been teaching was not true. It was not true, all of it. It was wrapped up in other sorts of myths and rumors and so on. But let's move on. The next one is the loom. In 1813, 14 Luddites, you may have heard Luddites, were executed in York Castle. Now, the word Luddite has come to mean people who are stuck in the past. They won't adopt to new technology and so on. That's what the word Luddite has actually come to mean. We now use it in common parlance, common language. And the protests about the Luddites, by the Luddites, were about pay rather than being about technology. It was also about pay. And what they're worried about is they'd be asked to do as much or more work for the same amount of pay, produce more, but for the same amount of pay. This raises the next question regarding all technology. All technology has led to exploitation. It's led to fear, like the printing press. It's led to exploitation of workforces, of people, of ordinary people. And in fact, there are other things as well. So the loom, people learning, working in the loom, and initially it was a lot of women and children, but women, they learned to lip read because the looms were so noisy And so they learnt to lip read. So if you were in a pub, in a church, social gathering, whatever, they would sit there in the corner and they would read lips and they'd get the latest gossip. And they'd then be able to spread the gossip about what Joe said about his wife or whatever it might be. And if you wanted to have a private conversation, you had to move out of the pub, out of the church, out of the social setting, and into another place and have a conversation with somebody where people could not read your lips. So there are always other consequences, some fun consequences of every single technological advance that we've ever seen on the planet. Okay, then we moved also from the verbal listening age and the reading age of parts of society that could read. And Mark Twain said, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. Fake news and the idea there's fake news by politicians is nothing new. It has been going on since time immemorial. And in fact, in the past, Middle Ages, and sorry, in the Middle East and so on, Jewish scribes were threefold. They did one of three things. They either wrote legal things, religious things, or they wrote down letters. But most people couldn't afford that. So if you wanted to send a message to somebody, say, from Jerusalem to Nazareth, another town, you basically said, can you go to so-and-so street, so-and-so person, find them and give them this message? And you would say what you wanted to say to that person. That person would then repeat it back to you in the exact tone, the exact same emphasis and so on. You'd pay them and off they'd go, and they would then deliver the message with the exact same same emotions and tone that you had to the person. So they lived in a listening age. They listened, and the elites in society could afford writing. But with the radio, this is society again entering into a listening age. But the radio, like all technologies, they were used for propaganda and exploitation. There's that word again. For instance, if we look in World War II, what we call World War II, by the way, World War I and World War II, they were one war with a peace treaty and a in the middle and a cessation of violence and a truce. It was one conflict. But anyway, I digress. Lord Haw, for instance, broadcasting from Nazi Germany, taunting the listening public, and the British public tuned in to listen to this guy taunting them, trying to instill doubt and fear into them. But the government weren't immune. They came up with news broadcasts and so on that obviously clearly biased, but people were listening to them. And this was one of the main sources of news for the majority, because literacy was coming in, and obviously people had started learning to write with free education in the West and so on. But basically, this was one of the main ways they listened. So there's propaganda and exploitation. Next, newsreels. Between 1910 and 1970, Pathé News issued over 6,000 newsreels. You'd go to the cinema, you'd watch your movie, Charlie Chaplin or Laurel and Hardy or some of the greats or whatever they were in World War II and so on. And they would then sit there and watch Pathé News, and the public, as well as the hearing age, and starting to read as well, and literacy becoming more prevalent, but nevertheless, the visual age was really coming in now, starting to come in as well. There's a crossover point. Do you remember stained glass windows in churches and cathedrals throughout the world? They told the Bible stories. People couldn't read, they put them in the stained glass windows. It was a visual way of telling stories. Social media, newsreels, cinema, every single medium you can think of, there is nothing new. It was happening on cave paintings. People drew images of the beasts they've caught. They chase stories of them. We don't understand all of them. They put their handprints on the wall many, many thousands of years ago, and we've got a glimpse into the past. So visual media is nothing new. It's been there with us almost forever. And Pathé News issued these newsreels twice weekly. Then we move into the TV age, the age of TV, and over 600 million people worldwide watched the moon landings live in 1969. And there was such a boost in TV sales that one event created TV sales. And TV then became established as the medium, certainly in most homes. But in my home, it wasn't. I remember our very first TV being delivered. We grew up in a hearing aid of the radio, in fact, until I was about 8 or 9. We had our first TV, and I was born in 1961. So it gives you an idea. But entertainment was no longer solely the province of the wealthy who attended live theatre and things like that. What I call democratization started to become full flow democratization of visual media. It started, it was flowing. Entertainment was limited. It was propaganda again. It was exploitation sometimes as well. And also, some of it, you must admit, the very early days was quite racist. It portrayed a society, especially in the US, I'm not criticizing the US, especially in the US, which was pretty white, misogynist, male dominated, middle to upper class. Okay, that's my opinion. You can put me down if you wish to do so. But even in the UK, so we had something called the Black and White Minstrel Show, where the male dancers, they were blacked up with bright white lips, and the lady dancers weren't. They were ordinary, white and so on. And basically, it was utterly, utterly racist. We didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, in my opinion, it was racist. There was a lot of content like this, and most of the content coming out was, including in the UK, I don't know about other countries, and in the US, North America, was basically based around white middle class, and also looking downwards sometimes, things like called Coronation Street and so on, working class TV soaps and so on. So it was limited in its content. But then we move on to tape and CD. The tape cassette originally designed for dictation machines, but tape and CD, it was going to kill off live music and the record industry. It was going to kill it off. It was just going to wipe it out. And that was the fear and the worries. And I remember reading reports on it. And music sales, even of records, vinyl records, and then latterly CDs when they came out, they're going to just fall down because people can record them. In fact, I remember a DJ called John Peel on BBC Radio 1 at the time. He had a policy of not talking over the intro to records that he was playing, and he played some pretty obscure stuff. And basically, he played these records. He wouldn't talk over them like I am now. He wouldn't talk over them so that you could record them at home, because he played some very, very lesser known and more obscure people. And they were just pleased for people to be listening to them and then to take them and then to play them to their friends. And then their friends would probably possibly go out and buy their records. So these lesser known stars and acts, they weren't worried about this, but the people at the top of the music industry were. But what happened in the music industry? Instead of it dying, they changed the experience. Instead of people just coming to the front stage and playing their music, singing and rocking away or whatever it might be, they changed it. They had light shows, they had smoke effects, they started introducing video effects, they started introducing lots of different digital media into their shows. It required human beings with this advance in technology to keep it going. And they changed the experience for the person going there, so that it was so different from just listening to the music on your record player or on the radio. It became an attractant. It was like bees around a hive or whatever. There was an attractant there. which was beyond out in the world. You wanted to go and experience it. Human beings were creating this. Then we move into VHS and DVD. Interesting fact about VHS, if you were to pull out all of the film of a normal VHS tape, it would be around 812 feet long. But again, I remember the stories about this, that VHS, along with TV and the DVD, it was all going to kill off the movie industry. Instead, again, just like live music, they changed the experience at the cinema. So where I grew up in the middle of the UK in England, I grew up with two cinemas in town. One was called a flea pit. The other was a bit better than that. And basically they would bid for showing of the latest hit movies. And there were perhaps 2 or 3 in a month. And it was one cinema in each one. So you had a choice of one cinema to see a feature film, and before that there was a B film which you saw before the main feature, but you went to one cinema, and they were pretty uncomfortable seats, they were squashed, it was pretty awful and so on. But what happened when VHS and DVD started coming out, and then online streaming? They changed the experience. They became multiplexes. And now in my hometown, Leamington, one cinema became Bingo Hall. The other one, they turned into 6 multiplexes. And now you have more feature films in a month and hit films in a month and lesser known films in a month than I ever had as a kid. And they're shown several times every single day. And the seats are comfortable. You can pay for bigger seats, but even the baseline seats in a multiplex theatre are so comfortable. They tilt back, you can take drink in, food and all the rest of it. And you can have an immersive experience with the stereo sound, with a huge screen. It's immersive. They changed the experience to be better than the average person's home. So they kept going. So all of these sort of ideas and threats to every single part of life, whether it be the printing press, the loom, whether it be a TV, whether it be Pathé News, whether it be the cinema, whether it be writing, whether it be scripts, whether it be literacy, all of them has changed society, mainly for the better. They changed the experience for all of us. And all technology has changed us. So advances in tech have not reduced employment in the long term. And I feel, going back to the 15th century, whenever it was, for the Luddites, 19th century, for the Luddites, them actually being prepared to die for their cause. Their cause was justified. I'm not making light of it. They were exploited, and 14 of them were executed. And smashing up looms was made to be a criminal offence in the UK. But longer term, the looms brought in industrialization. They've increased opportunity and accessibility to creative products and experiences. I'm a grandpops to 4 beautiful grandchildren. They're the most beautiful grandchildren in the world. I won't let anybody say that theirs are more beautiful than mine. But my grandchildren will be doing jobs that nobody has yet thought of, because human beings, with every advance in technology, have been needed. They've been needed to make the machines and so on. They've been needed to do various things. And I remember that my grandmother, she wrote a scrapbook, she, at the beginning of one of the scrapbooks, said that she's lived through, and she was born in late 1800s, she's lived through more changes in her lifetime than any generation before, which was true. But soon my grandchildren will be going to Australia for tea. She's not far off. And I say within 10 years, 5 to 10 years, we will be able to go from the UK to America and back again We used to be able to do it by Concorde, but we'll be on the outer edges of space. We'll be able to do that for tea. We'll be able to go to Australia for tea. We will be able to do that. And basically, the downside of all of this is that every technology has been weaponized or militarized. It's been used for propaganda. It's ended up the exploitation of human beings has happened. And also social media with some of the latest tech, it gives everybody a voice, but it gives a voice to the loudest, which is normally a minority. But that loud voice of the minority feel vindicated in their views. They feel validated. They've got an audience. They've always got an audience. And how much is fake? A couple in the USA I've seen in Facebook and so on, they're at a gas station and basically they are filling up and they're driving away. And suddenly they see this kid who does a sign out the window, an international sign saying, "I'm in trouble." They're following it and it's all dramatic and it's all filmed on a phone. There are lots of videos they've done. They're all fake. They're made up. They're acted out. Okay, they act out a possible story, and I don't object to that. But acting it out and portraying it as real, and they get comments like, "Oh, you're heroes, you're great, you're blah, 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 blah," but they're all fake. I remember many years ago, I came off Facebook for many years for many different reasons, but I came off it for a while. But before I came off it a few years back, lettuce coated in plastic was a thing. This woman in America, she said, "Look at this lettuce. Look at what people are doing. The government's doing. They're making us eat this." There's a thin film of plastic on the lettuce. It went viral. Millions of views. People saying the government are in charge. The government are controlling us. They're ruining our diet. I looked it up. Because one of my friends in the UK had commented, "Look at what the governments are doing." And this is the US and no doubt the UK government's doing. Make sure you buy organic and so on, fine. Basically, I looked it up, and even an organic farmer in the USA said this is a natural phenomenon. That what happens when there's a drop in temperature, the lettuce creates a thin membrane film over its own leaves to protect itself like a cloche against the cold. It's a natural phenomenon, and I can't remember what it's called. And I looked it up, and several people said it's a natural phenomenon. I said to my friend, "This is all fake. Here's some science. Here's a scientific word. Here's basically what some organic farmers have said." They would not accept it. They said, "You believe what you want to believe, I believe what I want to believe." They wouldn't accept facts and truth because the narrative of this video met their own belief. The government is blah, 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 blah on all the rest of it. So that is where we are with AI at the moment and technology and advanced technology. Basically, somebody said confirmation bias, and somebody said earlier that not good for the environment always either, and that is very true. So technology has created opportunities and dangers. It has democratized the creative experience, and what we can do as creatives as well. It's also a threat to our livelihood because somebody with a phone can actually just take some footage, take some images and post it out there. But I'll tell you what's happened with what I do, video and photography, is we've upped our game. I look at my wedding photos. I've been married, just celebrated 40 years of being married. How my wife's put up with her, with me, I don't know. But anyway, if you know her, say hi and well done and buy her a drink. But basically, after 40 years, we got out our wedding album, which was all analog process films and so on. The photos in that would not pass muster for a wedding today because the ability to do something different has increased and improved with the kit available. And people often ask me, what's the best camera to buy? What I say to them is, the best camera is the one you have on you at the time. I can take amazing shots on my mobile phone. I can take amazing video on my mobile phone. It makes it easier with the kit I've got, but I can still do amazing stuff on my mobile phone. So basically, technology has created opportunities. And by the way, all of these images that I'm showing you today and all of the videos were created by AI. Very simply, those two apps I've said, to create a full-length feature film costs a lot more money. But we have the ability to do stuff ourselves as creatives. So let's look at the AI timeline, what's happened. So in the 1950s, most of you hopefully will have heard of Turing. The Turing test was devised, and he published Computing Machinery and Intelligence, which introduced the Turing test, basically a computer one side in one room, experts the other side, and do they think that this computer answers and this computer communication interaction is a human being or not? No computer has ever passed that test as yet. There was then 1956, the Dartmouth Conference, and this officially established the field of AI. Then a guy called Arthur Samuel in 1959 developed the first self-learning program, a checkers playing AI. Then in the 1970s, funding dried up. Governments weren't interested. There was something called Cold War going on and so on. They really were not interested, certainly in the West, in doing this and developing it. And it was called the first AI winter. And expert systems began focusing upon very narrow domains of knowledge. But then in the 1980s, there was a resurgence. This is called the AI Renaissance. And basically, Japan's fifth generation computer project sparked increased funding worldwide. That was in 1981. In 1987, Marvin Minsky publishes The Society of Mind, proposing a theory around human intelligence, all contributing to the debate. In the 1990s, this sent seismic shockwaves through the world of computing. IBM's computer Deep Blue, in a well-publicized matchup, beat the world champion at chess, Garry Kasparov. The end was nigh. Very similar things that are being said today. With AI, it's gonna overtake human beings. It's going to do this. No, 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 no. All it did was a programmed machine was able to think quicker and smarter. It wasn't doing anything original. And that machine had still been programmed by human beings. Okay. However, it did beat him. So it is a major event. And that increased focus on probabilistic models and large data sets. So in 2000, big data neural networks. IBM's Watson, IBM again, stood for I'm being mended. IBM's Watson wins a game called Jeopardy. Advanced natural and neural language processing and deep learning techniques began to show promise in various programs. In 2010s, Google DeepMind recognized cats on YouTube. It's only 15 years ago. Google recognized cats in their programming, in their computer, on YouTube. This is very rapid progress from 1950s to here. And DeepMind won what is considered to be the most complex game human beings ever thought of, more complex than chess, and it beat the AlphaGo world champion. DeepMind, another computer, beat the world champion. It's really progressing now. The speed a computer can do calculations and so on is faster than, at times, with the right program, is faster than human beings. But again, remember, it's human beings who are creating this and programming them. In the 2000s and 20s, AI in phones started coming. This created major ethical considerations, and there is ongoing research. So man reaching the moon and landing on the moon is an amazing achievement. But I'm not going to go in the details. Basically, well, a few. In addition, the Apollo computer had 32,768 bits of RAM memory, and it had 72 kilobytes of read-only memory. That was it. To put that into concrete terms, a phone with around 4 GB of RAM is 1 million times more memory than when man walked on the moon. And so basically, it can be more than 7 million times, 14 million times more than what landed man on the moon. And by the way, this is another AI created piece of footage. I put in create Neil Armstrong walking on the moon, lifting a foot in a weightless environment. So back to the brain, human creativity. AI at the moment is not taking over. It doesn't match up to the brain. It replicates what's already out there, sometimes improves upon it. AI is not a thought leader. AI is not innovative and original to any great extent at the moment. AI helps to democratize creativity and puts in the hands of everybody tools to create. And AI is that. It is just a tool. And here is a very short video.
Make yourself loved. Stay fresh. Stay fearless with extreme perfume.
A TV advert, 100% AI created by a colleague and friend of mine. He's just won in Houston, Texas, Best Music Video created by AI, International Award. He is the best AI guy on the planet that I've ever come across. All of that is AI driven TV advert. And so it can do stuff. But let's just finish with going quantum. Electrons, they're amazing. The electrons being observed are all exactly the same in makeup, etc. They are key to quantum computing. There are so many dangers to this, and it may help us because there are benefits to understand how the universe works, may help cure cancer, understand how cancer works, and lots of other things. However, it is very unknown. We are taking a leap of faith into quantum computing, the next stage of a form of AI. And I would say democratization ends. It's going to be very expensive and governments will dominate. They won't want to share it. They'll want to dominate over other people. I believe that with this leap forward, when it happens, and it probably will be problematic. But I just want to think about the stars. We can see 3% of our universe, which is 13 to 15 billion years old. There are 1 to 2 trillion galaxies in our universe. But you know what? We're made of the same stuff that we can see in the night sky. We're made of exactly the same stuff. From stars to planets to elements, we're the same. And we are minuscule. We are so tiny. We're less than a pinprick in time and existence. But it's us looking at the stars and we're trying to work it out. It's us made of the same stuff. And the stars and planets and everything out there and black holes can't do what we're doing as intelligent beings. We are amazing. Our knowledge is growing. But one last thought. The person who invented the first wheel was an idiot. The person who invented the other 3 wheels was a genius. Regarding quantum computing, it might be better to remain an idiot for the sake of all mankind. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Is AI killing human creativity? At the moment, no, it's creating opportunities. Around the corner, quantum computing is a whole different ballgame. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arwyn. That was amazing, super enlightening, inspiring. Um, I loved what you said, that we're made of the same stuff, but the stars can do what we can do as intelligent human beings. Lovely food for thought there. Everyone, if you have any questions for Arwyn, please drop them either in the chat or in the Q&A section. We've got 5 minutes for that. Otherwise, I will see you in the next session at 10:45 with Lewis Kemp. That's the link in the chat for easy access if you want to copy it from there. Otherwise, you should have received an email with all the links. So yeah, any questions?